Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf, Masechah SOTAH Daf Chav Gimel. We are holding right in the middle of the Mishnah on Chav Beis Amud Beis, on the fourth line from the bottom of the Amud. Says the Mishnah, Nitmeis Minchasa. So we have the Isha who's a SOTAH, who has her Mincha, but the Mincha became Tamei before we had a chance to be makriv it on the Mizbeach. What do we do? Well, it depends. Ad shaloi kacha b'kli. If it has not yet been placed into a keli shares, which makes it really kaddish, it gives it that higher level of kedusha, inherently kaddish, kedusha saguf. It hadn't gotten to that point. It's only monetarily kaddish, kedusha damim. So what do? We redeem it. We treat it like any other mincha in this type of situation, and we redeem it. We exchange it for money. The money becomes kaddish. The mincha loses kedusha, and not to worry. But if the mincha had already been placed in a kli sharis, where it attained a higher level of kedusha saguf, it becomes inherently kaddish, which doesn't allow for redemption. What do we do with this mincha now? The mincha that's tamei. We treat it like any other mincha in this type of situation, and it's burnt not on the mizbeach, rather in a place called Beis Hadashin, this burning area next to the mizbeach. In fact, we have a whole long list of situations where this process is applied. In the following situations, the menachos will be burnt in the Beis Hadashin. So we start with mincha, examples of minchas SOTAH, which for some reason or other cannot be brought on the mizbeach, and since it's kaddish, it has to be burnt by Beis Hadashin. And then we proceed to another more universal example pertaining to any mincha of the isha. Okay, so we have examples of minchas SOTAH which will not be brought in the mizbeach, rather will be burnt by Beis Hadashin. Isha gets up and says, I admit, I am guilty. We stop the process in its tracks. There's no point in continuing. The whole point is to verify. Well, it's confirmed. She's tamei. The mincha is not burnt. Or v'shabola edem sheitmei. She didn't admit, but Edom came and testified as such. She's guilty. We burn the mincha. Or at this early point, this early stage in the process, she can still opt out. She says, I'm not going to drink, and I'm going to leave my marriage, I'm going to lose my ksuva, but okay, we can't force her to drink at this point. Mincha gets burnt. Or husband refuses to proceed with the process of giving her the water, he opts out. We burn the mincha. Or the husband inappropriately interacted with her as married as they were traveling to Yerushalayim, and of course it's asur because it's post kini v'stira, mincha is burnt. The next case applies to all minchas of women, not necessarily minchas SOTAH. V'chol hanasuyos l'kohanim. If an isha is married to a kohen, mincha yisein israfos. So in that case, we burn the mincha. Now, we're meant to know that typically a mincha brought by a Yisrael, so the kmitza, the scoop, is placed on the mizbeach, and the rest is given to the kehanim. A mincha brought by a kohen has no kmitza. Rather, the entire mincha, in totality, is burnt on the mizbeach. What about a situation such as ours? You have an isha married to a kohen. So on the one hand, he's paying for it. Technically, it's a minchas kohen, which doesn't allow for the kohanim to consume the sharaim, right? But on the other hand, it's a sort of a mix. It really is coming to address the isha's obligations. So it's really not a minchas kohen. So what happens? Says the Mishnah, "V'kol hanasuyos l'kohanim minchasein israfos." We find a solution. We burn. We take the kaimetz, put on the mizbeach. and then we burn the leftovers in the Beis Hadosh. So we cover all bases. We treat it somewhat, to a certain extent, like a Minchas Yisrael, which requires Kmitza, and the Kmitza is taken out and put on the Mizbeach. We also give it the din of a Minchas Kohen, because it's sponsored by a Kohen, the husband. In which case the Shiraim are not eaten, rather they're burnt, not on the Mizbeach, but the Beis Hadosh. And the Mishnah continues to summarize and to draw distinctions between a Kohenes and a Kohen, etc., etc. Bas Yisrael Shenisas the Kohen. So once again we have a Isha from a Yisrael home. Shenisas the Kohen who is married to a Kohen. Minchas Nisrafis. So that's what we do. We burn the mincha because it has an element of kahuna because of the husband, and an element of Yisrael because of the wife. Now Rashi points out, by the way, we'll see that in the Mishnah further, that only a minchas kohen has the halacha that the entire mincha is burnt on the mizbeach. But if an isha comes from a kohen family, she doesn't have that halacha. That's just important to mention. Okay, so we have now this mixed mincha. We take the kaimitz, we makter it, and the shiraim are burnt in the Beis Hadosh. The kehenes shenisas leIsrael minchas ne'achelas, as opposed to a reverse situation. An isha from a kohen family married to a non-kohen, married to a Yisrael. In this case, it's a regular standard mincha. You makter the kaimitz and you eat the shiraim. Why not? And the Mishnah points out that in fact that's one of the differences between a kohen and a kohenes. Ma bin kohen l'kohenes. We have several differences. The first one has to do with mincha, as we just mentioned. Minchas kohenes ne'achelas. A mincha brought by a kohenes, whether she's single or she's married to a Yisrael, doesn't matter. The mincha is a standard mincha, in which case the leftovers are eaten by the kohanim. Only the kaimitz is brought on the mizbeach, but the rest the kohanim have. Uminchas kohen, eina ne'achelas, mincha belonging to a man kohen, goes straight on the mizbeach, lock, stock, and barrel. Another difference between a kohenes and a kohen. Kohenes mischalelas. If a isha kohenes got involved as married with somebody who is puzzle, she becomes a chalala, disqualified from eating truma, from marrying a kohen. The kohen ain't mischalal, but this doesn't happen to a man kohen who gets involved inappropriately. It doesn't affect him to this extent. Another difference. Kohenes metamal mason. A woman kohen can get involved with the mason. She can go to a funeral. Vein kohen metamal mason, but a male kohen cannot. Kohen oichel b'kachik kachim. A male kohen can have the kachik kadashim, such as the chatos, etc. He can eat those. Vein kohenes oicheles b'kachik kachim, but the women kohanim cannot. We learn this from Psukim. Once we're on the topic of distinctions, ma bein ish leisha. We find some differences between a man and a woman. So we're not discussing things which don't apply to women at all. We're speaking about things which do apply somewhat to women, but we have distinctions between the way it applies to a man or to a woman. Ma ben ish leisha. Ha'ish pareya pirim. A man who is a mitzora is to let his hair grow, and paira means to tear his clothing. But that doesn't apply to a woman, although she becomes a mitzora, but she doesn't have to go through this process. Ve'ena isha parasa paramis. Ha'ish mader's b'nei benazir. There's a halacha that a man can impose nazirus on his son. Ve'ena isha maderas b'nei benazir, but isha cannot do that. This is based on halacha l'meshmer Sinai. One more nazir related distinction. Ha'ish megalech al nazirus aviv. Suppose his father was a nazir, and he set aside some funds for his karbanis, and he passed away. The son is also a nazir. He wants to be megalech, wants to shave, literally shave. It means the whole process with the karbanis. He wants to use his father's money for that. He can do that. Ha'ish megalech al nazirus aviv. But ve'ena isha megalachas al nazirus aviyah. A woman cannot do that. Ha'ish mekadesh bitay. A man could hand his daughter over for kedushin, even without her consent. Ve'ena isha megaleshes bita, but a woman can't. We're speaking about a ktana, obviously. Ha'ish meicheres bitay. A man can sell his daughter as a maidservant. Ve'ena isha meicheres bita. A woman can't do that. Ha'ish niskal arum. When skila, capital punishment is applied to a man, it's without his garments. Ve'ena isha niskalas aruma, but that doesn't apply to an ish. Ha'ish nitla. When an ish goes through skila, he's hung afterwards. Ve'ena isha nitlas doesn't apply to a woman. Ha'ish nimka b'gnevasai. A thief can be sold to pay back the geneva. Ve'ena isha nimkeres b'gnevasai, but we don't sell an isha for that purpose. Okay, let's backtrack to the first halacha. The fact that the mincha brought by the woman married to the kohen is treated in some way like a minchas kohen, to the extent that none of it will be eaten. On the other hand, we can't just take the whole thing and put it on the mizbeach like it would be a kohen's mincha, because it identifies with her as well. So it's sort of a hybrid mincha. Tana Rabbanan, kol ha'nesois l'kahuna, mincha yisein nisrafos. A mincha brought by an isha who's married to a kohen, that mincha is burnt. Ketzad, explain to me how this works. Kohenes or a Leviah, Israelis. You have a woman who's a Kohenes family or from a Levi family or a regular Israelis. Shenis is the kohen married to a kohen man. Ein minchas nechelas. On the one hand, you can't just be maked to the kohen and eat the rest. You can't do that because it's somewhat his. He's paying for it. He has a part in it. And a minchas kohen is never eaten by kehan. On the other hand, you can't just take the whole thing and burn it on the mizbeach like it would be a minchas kohen. Ve'ena oile kalu. You know why? Because it's somewhat hers. She has a part in it. It's coming to address her obligation. So it identifies with her as well. You can't just treat it like a minchas kohen. So what's the solution? We have a compromise. Ela hakoymitz karev ba'atzma. We do the kmitza, which we are marked there separately. V'asherayim kraven ba'atzma. And we take the shirayim and we put it on the mizbeach separately. So first the kaimis and then shirayim. So, it's a combined process. On the one hand, we do the kmitza, like a minchas Yisrael. On the other hand, we are makriv the shirayim as well, like a minchas kohen. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? Once you are makriv the kaimitz, you may not proceed with being makriv the shirayim. There's a pasuk, a drasha against that. Ikri kan, let's apply the pasuk. Kol shehu mimenu li'ishim harihu b'bal taktiru. The pasuk says, v'chol dvash v'chol lo saktiru mimenu ish al Hashem. And the Gemara makes the drasha. We are meant to learn from here. Kol shehu mimenu li'ishim. Let's say you have a mincha. Which part of that mincha was taken and put on the mizbeach? The kaimitz was already brought from this mincha onto the mizbeach. Harihu bal taktiru. You no longer have the ability to be makti the rest on the mizbeach. It's leftovers. It doesn't belong on the mizbeach. So here we have the mincha, whose kaimitz was burnt on the mizbeach. That preempts. Be makriv the rest. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Kessler pasi. Here's the answer. The makriv l'hulishum eitzim. You have a mind like this. I'm not sure how to treat this mincha. On the one hand, it belongs to a kohen, it belongs to a non-kohen. So I say, look, on the chance that it's treated like a kohen's mincha, so the whole thing is meant to go on the mizbeach, okay, I mean, makriv everything. On the tzad that's really not a kohen's mincha, and doesn't really belong on the mizbeach, the shirayim, I mean, so I'm putting it on the mizbeach l'shum eitzim, as though it's firewood. I'm not treating it as a hakrava, I'm just using it as firewood. You can do that. Your intentions, your kavanah, determine how to treat this. Rabbi Yehuda, as Rabbi Yehuda says, you can do this. There's San Rabbi Yehuda Omer. There's a whole machlekes there in Zvachim. You have parts of the chatas, which are not meant to be brought on the mizbeach, getting mixed up with parts of an oila, which are meant for the mizbeach. What do we do? Chacham say there's no way out. You have to let it spoil and burn it. Rabbi Yehuda says, look, put the whole mix on the mizbeach and say, look, The chatas part there doesn't belong. It's just firewood. I'm not being makar of it. For the pasuk that we learned the Isser from, it says reich nechoyach, only meant for if it's meant for akrova, to bring a reyach, a scent, kaviyachol, like a masa akrova to Hashem, that's a problem. Yata mala. Aval tamalei l'shem eitzim, but you can bring it up if it's just meant as firewood. So that's the solution in our case. Again, we have a mincha, a joint mincha, relating to the husband kohen, relating to the isha non-kohen. So we separate the kohenets, we're makter. And the rest is also brought in the mizbeach. At the worst, it's just firewood. So that's good. That's going to Rabbi Lezer, the Islay Asvaru, who subscribes to this idea that your kavanah l'shem eitzim can change the equation. Elul l'Rabbana. But according to the Shittas Rabbana who disagree, if it's on the mizbeach, it's a carbon. You can't just turn it into firewood. The less little high svara, they don't hold it as far. So what's the solution in our case? You're stuck. You can't treat it like a minchas Yisrael, and you can't be makar on the mizbeach like a minchas kohen. We have another solution. As we mentioned back in the Mishnah, we burn it in the Beis HaDeshen. The Abdilu Rabbi Lezer Shimon. We follow the other sheet. The Sanya, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer. So he's actually speaking about a totally different case. Mincha that a kohen will bring on account of a chet, a minchas chayte of a kohen. It's all shaila whether we bring it on the mizbeach or not. So he says like this. I'll give you a good solution. Hakohen mitzkarv ba'atzmai, v'ashirayim mispazrim al beis hadeshen. Very simple. You take the minchas chayte of a kohen, you separate the kohenets, put on the mizbeach, and the shirayim you don't eat. You send it to the beis hadeshen to get burnt. So that's going to be the answer in our case as well. You're stuck with this dilemma. On the one hand, you can't just eat the shirayim. On the other hand, you can't be makar of the shirayim. What is it? Is it a kohen? Is it? So you burn it on the beis hadeshen. The Rabbi Lezer Shimon, even the Rabbanon who disagree over there, by the minchas chayte of a kohen with Rabbi Lezer, it's only in that specific case because they disagree. They hold it's no problem. The bas hakrova you just put on the mizbeach, right? It's a whole shaila there. What to do with it? So that's their shita. But in concept, this is a good solution. When you're really stuck, like in our Mishnah, when it's a minchas kohenes, you're not sure what to do. But in our case, even they agree it's a good solution. So that's what we do. Okay, so the bottom line is, you have a minchas, let's say minchas SOTAH, belonging to an isha married to a kohen. Now, if it's the kohen's, it goes straight on the mizbeach without kmita, just straight on the mizbeach. But it's really hers as well. Well, you can't have the shirayim being eaten. Maybe it's a minchas kohen, so you're stuck. So the solution is like this: you take the kohenets, put it on the mizbeach, and then what do you do with the shirayim? So it depends. According to Rabbi Lezer, you can bring it on the mizbeach l'shem eitzim. According to Rabbi Lezer Shimon, and the Gemara seems to hold that everybody would agree with that as well, that you can take the shirayim and put it on the beis hadeshen. So that's the chiluk between a minchas kohenes and a minchas kohen. Bas Yisrael and a sola kohen. So a Bas Yisrael married to a kohen, her mincha will have a din somewhat of a minchas kohen, as we learned. It gets burnt. My taima. Why do we say that it's all about being married to a kohen? But let's say she's a kohenes, single kohenes, from a kohen family. Her mincha is treated like a regular mincha, like a minchas Yisrael. Why? My time. The pasuk says so. V'chol minchas kohen. The pasuk there is speaking. The parsha is speaking about kohanim. Why does the parsha, the pasuk repeat? V'chol minchas kohen. To stress. V'chol minchas kohen. Kol tiyah le'ta'achal. It's fully burnt on the mizbeach. Kohen, only the mincha of a kohen. Like kohenes, as opposed to an isha from a kohen family, if she's not married to a kohen, we treat it like a regular mincha. Another difference: kohenes mischalelis, kohen ein mischalel. If a kohenes gets involved with a puzzle as married, it affects her status, but not doesn't have the same effect by a male kohen. Menolan, how do we know that? warning a kohen against getting involved with an isha inappropriately, it's going to ruin his kids. Zaroi mischal, his kids are disqualified from kahuna. Vu'enim mischal, it doesn't affect the father. Kohenas metama, an isha kohen can touch a mace, but not a man, not a male kohen. My time on Akra, the pasuk says, speak to the kohanim, warn them against becoming tamei, and it says, Emor ela kohana b'nei Aaron. Why add the words b'nei Aaron? To teach us b'nei Aaron. It only applies to the boys. V'lo b'nei Aaron, not to the women. Kohen echel b'kachei kachim, but not women. T'chsiv kol zochar, right? Clearly, kol zochar b'nei Aaron echlanu. Uma ben ish l'isha, we find differences between men and women regarding mitzvah, regarding skila. We're going to go through those as well. Tana Rabban. So the pasuk says that the ish, the man who has the nega, etc., ein le'el ish. Perhaps it only applies to a man. Ish, a man. How do we know all the halachas of negoim apply to women as well? The pasuk then says, "Vatzarua shaboya nega." The man, the sorry, not the man, the tzarua, the individual with the tzaras. Apparently, there's no difference between a man and a woman. Harikan shnayim refers to the isha and to the isha. So the concept of tzaras applies to everybody. Imkain, if that's the case, if they're all equal, matam aloymar, why does the pasuk stress the word ish? Le'inyan shalamata pertains to the halachas later on. The halachas discussed later on in the pasukim, ish parei apirim, regarding how to deal with a mitzvah in terms of uncovering his hair and his clothing. All that only applies to a man, not to a woman. Ho'ish mader is b'nei ben nazir. Only a man can impose naziris on a son, not a woman. Rabbi Yehuda halachi benazir as part of the halacha Moshe Sinai. Ha'ish megalech an naziris aviv. Ve'neish megalachas an naziris aviyah. Once again, Rabbi Yehuda, it's based on the halacha halachi benazir. Ha'ish mekalish as bitay. Ve'neish mekalish as bitay. Only a man can mekalish his daughter, not a woman. T'chsiv as biti nasat lish hazeh. And Tosfos explains that the pasuk there says, "V'amar v'yanara." The man will speak to the dayanim, right? They speak to Nasati, indicating only a man has a right to bring his daughter into kedushin, and not an isha does not have that right. Ha'ish moichas bitoy, ve'en isha mocheres is bita. Only a man can sell his daughter, not a woman. D'chsiv ki mikar isha is bitoy. Ha'ish niskal oraim. My time, how do we know that a man goes through skila without clothing? Rog mo'isay. My time of rog mo'isay. Pasuk says they stone him. My oisai. Why does it say oisai? Ilema, is it trying to tell you oisai v'lo that skila only applies to a man, not to a woman? The pasuk says it applies to anybody. It's clearly applicable to all genders. Ella, rather, when it says oisai, it's coming to address one specific element of skila, the halacha of aram. By the man that's without the ksus, as opposed to the woman. This, likewise, when it comes to hanging them, my time why I'm a krava talisa oisai al eitz. We learn oisai, it only applies to him. Not her, and Tosfos brings the Gemara in Sanhedrin, learning it from a different pasuk. V'chiyah bi'ish, right? Bi'ish v'lo bi'ish. And finally, when it comes to selling him as a slave for stealing, that only applies to a man. My time of why Amakra, the pasuk says, if he has nothing to pay, why does it have to add the word b'gneva soy? We learn b'gneva soy only upon his robbing as opposed to an isha where this wouldn't apply. Okay, let's just go back for a minute. We have the Mishnah, which gives us examples where the mincha is going to be burnt not on the mizbech, rather in the Beis Hadeshin, when the mincha becomes tamei, or she admits, Eidim come, or for whatever reason we can't proceed, we burn the mincha. Then we move on to the case of a mincha brought by an isha married to a kohen. On the one hand, he's sponsoring, and a mincha's kohen is meant to go directly on the mizbech, completely. On the other hand, it's really something coming to address the isha who's not really, doesn't really qualify for this halacha. Because as we learn in the Gemara, only the mincha of a man, a male kohen, has this halacha, but not a kohen, certainly not Israelis. Even when she's married to a kohen, her mincha is somewhat here and somewhat there. So, what's the solution? We have two possible solutions. Number one, we take the kohen and we burn it on the mizbech, and the rest is brought on the mizbech with a condition. If it doesn't belong there, it's just firewood. That's Rabbi Lezer's approach. And the other approach would be we burn it on the Beis Hadesh. We find differences between Kohanim and Kohanois, and between the Ish and the Isha pertaining to Tzaras, to Nazirus, and to Skila. All the best to you, Hatzlacha Rabba, and Besuros Toyos.